Well, hello there. My name is not important. And I'm often asked, what do I do for a living? And I answer, I do what I want.
One thing about the Bush administration that makes me something very close to nostalgic is the number of people who, back then, wanted to impeach the president. It was exhilarating to hear Americans full of righteous emotion, willing to use up their last Aladdin's lamp wish for the pleasure and privilege of seeing George Bush indicted by the House and put on trial before the Senate. For the vast majority of black folks, the impeachment of George Bush would have been the best thing that's happened since 1965, a genuine free-at-last moment. Hell, nothing could beat that but the election of a black president to succeed Bush. Which is what happened, and that's the problem. We did get a black successor to George Bush, and what did the new guy do but move most of Bush's luggage right back into the White House? Barack Obama then proceeded to out-Bush Bush, especially when it came to wielding imperial power and doing away with what's left of due process and the rule of law. Bush attacked nations that hadn't done anything to the United States and was arrogant enough to strut around and brag about it. But Barack Obama does Bush one better. He gangs up with the old European colonial crowd to set loose the war dogs on poor Libya, which hadn't said an angry word to the Americans in years, and then denied that all that bombing and rocketing constituted making war at all. In fact, said Obama, as he reloaded his weapons, there were no hostilities between the U.S. and Libya, since no Americans were getting killed. So now we have the Obama doctrine: no dead Americans, no war. There has to be a multitude of impeachable offenses connected to the war on Libya alone, but they're just the latest in a long list of high crimes and misdemeanors racked up by the first black president. An organization called Voters for Peace has compiled a list of items that would send Obama packing if there were such a thing as justice and constitutional law in this country. He is guilty of ordering military attacks on sovereign nations without congressional authorization, issuing executive orders for the extrajudicial assassination of U.S. citizens in violation of guarantees of due process, presiding over military, paramilitary, and intelligence service use of torture in violation of prohibitions against cruel and unusual treatment, ordering and attempting to assassinate foreign heads of state, and obstructing justice by failing or refusing to investigate credible allegations of torture brought against the previous administration. Thus, with Obama, we get a continuity of George Bush's crimes, plus a whole host of new ones. Call it Bush Plus. But unlike during Bush's crime spree, there is little clamor for Obama's head outside of the racist right. If Michelle keeps Barack in check and there are no sexual indiscretions, it looks like he'll have a record-breaking term in office, in terms of breaking the law. And black Americans, by clinging to Obama, will lose the distinction of being a people that cherish justice most of all. For Black Agenda Radio, I'm Glenn Ford. On the web, go to www.blackagendareport.com.
Is there any credible threats against any of the coalition countries?
Any threats against the...
Any of the coalition countries?
Well, I think that, Gaddafi's presence, continued presence in Libya is something that has got to end, given the fact that he's lost all legitimacy with his people. And the fact that he is there in an unstable way, in an unstable part of the world, I think has a negative impact on his neighbors, and given that region of the world has a negative impact on countries outside the region.
Do you have any credible threats against any of the countries?
Well, I can't share intelligence that I might possess.
Thank you all.